it's coming.
They're not gonna take a tenth of their portfolio, say, well, you're exempt, but everybody else.
I think by the emails that came in, they're preparing us.
Oh, I think so. It's coming. Whatever.
It's the wrong way. It's ready to go.
Think you're gonna mandate vaccines on there?
That I don't think they'll go that far.
Is this the town meeting?
Yes, sir.
Open to the public?
Yeah.
All right. Somebody sitting there?
I suspect if they went that way, they'd lose a lot of people. People would just say,
A lot of
"Oh,
places are.
yeah."
Did you see the stuff? People falling from the plane.
Here, is this the original?
They found a guy in the landing gear today.
Really?
One of
No, I
the
have the original.
ships.
Oh, okay.
Must have crawled in there, thought he was gonna make it.
I have it.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Okay, I thought I saw it. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Do not disturb.
It's a good idea.
I left mine home. It makes some reason I put it on do not disturb. So I said,
So should I reach out to Gavin Del Rio?
when you bring this back, oh, okay.
Maybe more than.
I bought was part of my but it had to stay. That lot was
You like that?
So what's new?
Hey, nothing.
No? Everything at the mill?
We got orders. Hard to make them. Without manpower.
Put it out though, huh?
In library?
Next week is Employee Appreciation
My
Day.
ideas that I have.
Yeah, usually that's a big event.
Nice to see.
I'm available all day Friday.
Oh my God, what
If
is
you want to
this?
sit down with you and I Friday.
Okay.
You've got time.
Yeah, morning.
Article 7 is not even supposed to be.
Okay, see you
Let me
then.
put that down.
Yeah.
Article 7?
Okay.
Why is that even there?
Like I go the old way here.
Approval of shoreline zoning amendments? That's,
Yeah, my phone is.
that's
Already
I
done.
copied and pasted there and I left that one. I forgot to delete
I was
that one.
wondering why it was back in there.
Okay,
I just noticed that.
I thought we had to review because there was comments from,
No.
That's,
Strike that. My God.
Because you put this in the 20th at 10, right? Okay.
Oh, you know what? Sorry.
Perfect.
It is supposed to be there. It's just an update.
yeah,
It's been approved.
okay.
I know.
That's,
that's what I
The way
said.
that it sounds, the way that this reads is like approval by you.
No, it's already been approved.
Okay.
It's just now,
It's just an update.
it's official.
So take it back.
that's right.
I made this agenda 2 weeks ago there, so.
Before vacation.
Yeah,
Before
you
vacation.
must have done it on Friday at 4 o'clock there. Just send it out.
Stephen King.
It was on a Thursday, Tuesday.
No. Refuse to.
I know, I was in the parking lot at
About the
Sam's Club.
thinking if. That's
where I was.
If there's a clown that shows up on that street, I'm never going there for.
This was a mob Sunday. Where? Oh, Sam's Club in Bangor.
I stopped on the way back up Friday.
No, that's fresh.
I wasn't even going.
It was a zoo, and
Actually,
I was
I
there
didn't
early.
even have a mask with me, and you had to have a mask to get in.
Really?
It's a sign, mask required.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't like it. You gotta be forced put into a situation where we
Flew under the radar.
I must have, because I didn't see most people wearing one.
I saw everybody wearing masks. Well, driving.
Were you in Bangor or Augusta?
Came back. No, actually, that was on the way down. I stopped to gas.
So they listened when they called them and told them that when Gary shows up, it's masks on.
That would have been on Tuesday.
You should have one in your pickup, just in case.
Yeah, usually I do, but
I brought some with us.
I need to buy another stack there and just leave them in my truck.
Yeah, I got them in my console now. I'm anticipating any day going to work and
Having the mandate back in place.
dreading it.
Those things.
I don't understand, why it is such a deal to get vaccinated. We've been living with vaccines forever, for Christ's sakes. It's just another vaccine. It's not any more, any less. Man, oh man, people are just hawking this. And, it's their right. You understand that.
I'm not too sure.
I
I know
just
that.
can't see. I'm sure that they've got vaccines that they've taken for years prior to this one. Everybody's choice, I guess. You think they're gonna get mandated, at least for the month?
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know what they'll do.
That's why it is, because the kid is coming.
This looks like it's already gone
No,
around.
there was
Yeah, I think you're the last
I was having an interesting conversation. People were saying that the masks are coming back. The governor, she was at our conference.
Yeah.
She spoke at our conference and
Yeah.
she talked about masks and mandates, executive orders and all kind of budgets and whatever.
Makes sense.
And she said that
Makes sense to
there's not
me.
going to be any more mask mandates. She doesn't have her executive powers, her emergency executive powers anymore.
Whatever it was called.
She's not going to get them back. But I was talking to somebody and they said, yeah, but she mandated the health industry. So where is she pulling that authority
That's
from?
why you'll see a lot
I don't know.
of similar.
Where's she getting that executive?
She's getting a lot of pushback. I saw today that most of
Unless it
the
was just like-
a ton of ambulance services downstate are saying, hey, we're not gonna be able to run.
No.
We're gonna back out.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be able to employ anybody who won't be able to run the service.
Survive the
One thing, they can't,
back.
they have to leave the state if you want to work in healthcare.
They didn't get more vaccines. They're French.
So,
It's gonna be
No,
interesting.
I don't get
yeah,
why
it's
you
really
go back
That
to
teaching
somebody.
is they're French.
an ongoing issue.
I wish they
Yeah.
would. Maybe this would go away.
Spanish.
I passed an ordinance at my house that do whatever you want.
Did you get balked? Somebody appeal?
Not yet.
My stepson says he's.
So we got denied from the Northern Border Regional Commission?
They give reasons why they do that.
Yeah, it's really why I'm asking, is what's the
Tell me what's
score?
different. The
Score.
is not.
We didn't,
Some score better than us.
You can do that all the
really?
Well, we
I
understood.
used to think we would be,
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would score better than us. That's absurd.
who
to think.
administers that?
guys anti-vax. I'm.
Yeah, Northern Border
But
Regional
he's got like a
Commission.
60.
That's been there for a while.
Decision panel.
Mike, you should put that in.
We'll get them.
Thank you. You're so reasonable. Pushing 60. 2 years I get my retirement.
Yeah, yeah.
Still building.
That, you get it at 60 and
Qu'est-ce que
you're.
tu veux dire?
Well, the bigger work we want to do.
Les snitch de la première salée.
Glenn is on disability.
28.
So he's in a lot of pain. They told him he'd be in a wheelchair before. And he's 50, he'll be 50 next month. One day at a time.
No. Taliban took over a country pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, that was rather crazy. It seemed like there was much resistance to it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when your
Kind of
government
fold
is
your
not,
cards and run.
when your government is not there to stand up with your military, what's your military gotta do? They got, it's just, you can't imagine we've been there for
Spent $20
some,
billion there, 20 years, and they're saying that
yeah.
money's being.
Well, that's main EMS that's telling us to put on our masks,
Yeah.
and it's gonna come for everybody.
Now they have all the weapons we
No matter how-
On top of that, on top of that,
We should be in there destroying those pretty handedly right now, to be honest with you.
Should have, yeah.
Should have leveled every airfield,
Four children.
take them all out.
you know, you wonder about the leadership. Good.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to public participation. Is there anybody that wants to address the board?
Just
Paul?
want to check on, I noticed they're starting to fill in the potholes on 13th Avenue there a little bit. I'm just hoping, I wonder if they'll be able to try hopefully later on to tire the whole thing later on within, if we can't do it this year, or probably maybe next year. Because I was over there and I see it looks kind of a little bad right now.
That was 13th Avenue?
Not 13, I mean 3rd.
3rd Avenue. Okay.
Yeah, I take that back.
There it was. Okay, 3rd Avenue. Okay. Is that it, Paul?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? Hearing none, we'll move on. First article is to consider other business or adjustments to the agenda. Gary, we have one item that needs immediate attention.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I request whether if you would want to add it to the agenda or put it on the next meeting agenda. It's consider the assessor's amended certification of assessment and amended certificate of assessment for last year's tax commitment year. And you have, I provided you that information yesterday.
Yes.
Everything ready?
Yeah. And what I said was we'll let the board decide if they want to take it now or put it, schedule it for a September meeting. What are the, is there consensus to do it now?
I would be willing to do it now.
Oh, yeah, me too, I'm fine.
Okay, so there's consensus from all board members?
Yep.
Okay, so noted. So we'll take it on. We take it after Article 10?
So this would be Article 11.
Article 11.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other adjustments, Gary?
Nope, not for me.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Article 2.
I will say, Mr. Chair, that I think that Eric had wanted to address the board, and Kevin also, our department heads wanted to run something by you for consideration either at this meeting or for the next meeting.
Okay.
Go ahead, Eric.
Is Kevin the same thing, or no? Oh, is it?
Don't think so.
No, okay. So my thing was, every year, we have to sign these oaths for the town. It's like we come into the town office and we have to swear in and all that, and it becomes a hassle to get some of these part-timers to come in. They gotta travel from Presque Isle, and then usually we have to pay them 2-hour call in just to come in and sign their oaths, because they're not always available. Some of the time, they come here and they take a night shift, so they're not here during the day and they can't come to the town offices. I'm just wondering, what's the necessity with this? Is it absolutely necessary we have to do this? Is this something we could do away with? Maybe have them sign one at the time of employment. So I'd like to discuss this at some point, if not tonight, at a future meeting, to see if this is something we really need to do. It's difficult to get everybody in, and oftentimes it doesn't happen. So, yeah, that's my spiel.
Gary, can you check with MMA about that?
I can see what the significance is. I think it's just an old, long-standing practice from way back. God knows when Minot.
That was there when I came, so it's been a long time.
Who was probably there before you.
Yeah,
And I
used to have a friend.
wonder if some of that is carryover stuff from the days of volunteers.
Perhaps.
You know,
Okay.
I don't know that there's any significance to it as far as employment. They are considered employees of the town, and whether or not they swear to an oath that they have to renew every single year. You know, is something that we could take a look at. I mean, we do a stack of them.
So we'll ask MMA if it's legal just to have it once we hire them
Yeah.
and keep it on file?
Mhm. Yeah.
Is that's the question that,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if it's something that we can do, just do it one time when we hire, and then that's it, keep it on file.
okay, will be so noted, and we'll have Gary get an answer from MMA. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Kevin?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to the board that our truck at the lake, our Western Star, the one that plows, is, chances are I won't be plowing this winter because the motor is about to let go in it, and the frame and the cab is rusted beyond. It's due for inspection. I don't even know if it's gonna pass. The last time they said that was it. It's a 2001 or 2002. Usually we plow with them for 15 years. It's going on 21 years. We put about $40,000 into it about 4 years ago, just to try to get us by, and now the motor, the box, the frame, the cab, we probably have to put, I'd say, another, just the motor is 30,000 plus. So we would probably need to sit down and figure out if we're gonna look to get another one, because they're 6 months to a year out right now minimum. So plans of action is we're gonna have to take the snow rack we have in town, the old Western Star, the other one, and try to fit it back to plow. That one too was retired 5 years ago, but just to get us through for the winter, but we really need to,
When is the inspection due on that?
it should be due anytime before. And if it does pass inspection, the motor's not gonna make it past the year. It's beyond, it's done its time. I think it's got 15,000 plus hours on it, and it's never been touched. So it's done its time. So we made some calls just to see, and they said 6 months minimum out. If we order it like this fall, we'd probably get it at the end of next summer. That's how we could get by the winter to, like I said, try to fit the other one back into play, but that's one of our snow racks. And probably put that one on the snow rack instead, because it only goes out a few hours a night to try to get by, and then we'll play it by ear, but we definitely would need to look into something like that.
Ballpark range, what does that cost?
The truck now, set up with the plow, the box, and the whole thing, you're looking at least 200, 240. A wheeler, yeah. The steel has gone up 40% this year. The boxes, the price of the boxes, Scott called, and it's gone up 40%, and it's gonna keep going up. He said that's why it'd probably be better to lock something in sooner than later, because they don't wanna give us a set price in stone for the hardware, because they said every month the price of steel changes and the price goes up. So
what
stuff is very expensive now.
What we've been doing since I've been here, and probably before me, is we've been lease financing most of our equipment out of there, 5-year terms. We did it with the payload order, we've done it with the last truck, you know,
Lease to own?
lease financing, yeah.
Do we have the loader that's coming off this year or next year? We got one that's coming off the books here, so I would probably just try to.
I would think that we'll probably have another, not including this year's payment, one more year after that. Well, maybe one more payment on that, sure.
Some more.
So maybe by the time we get it next year, that they'll. But it's just something I want to make you aware of, because it can't plow back this year. It's beyond. And while it's still worth something on trading, if we can get 20,000, 30,000 for it, if the motor lets go, we're not gonna get nothing for it. So
Have you already looked at prices of what lease would be on a truck like that?
we looked at just the prices of what it costs,
Okay.
and I think just the truck bare is about 140, 150,000. Besides all the hardware and the
Right.
box. It's very expensive now.
I mean, should we ask him to go get actual lease costs and prices and just to give us some more information what we can do next.
Yeah, we could do that, if you wanna check into that, I guess, and give us some more definite answers.
Well, I didn't know which direction you wanted to take, but if you were asking me to do that, I can do that
Yeah.
and have that within the next couple of weeks.
I mean, we're not making promises here, we're
No,
just,
no, I understand that,
Yeah.
you know,
because it's gonna put a short, this winter, we're gonna be short one truck for either snow rack or, you know what I mean, yeah, but we'll have to do what we gotta do to get by.
okay.
Is there any availability if the truck does die in the middle of winter that we can get a contract with somebody to help us up there? No?
Nobody has the trucks out there. The only ones are the towns, and I mean, that's about it. Nobody has a truck that size around here set up like that, the block.
That's specialty equipment, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have your marching orders, so get us some numbers and
Okay.
we'll talk at a future date.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to Article 2, to consider board meeting minutes from July 13.
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
There's a motion to approve the minutes of July 13th, seconded by Chris. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, are there any omissions or corrections to the minutes?
Good to me.
Hearing none.
Fine, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Those against, motion carries. The July 29 minutes of the Board of Selectmen.
Make a motion, we accept.
Motion by Chris, seconded by Jason, to approve the minutes of July 29. Are there any corrections or omissions in the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Those against, motion carries. Moving on to Article 3, to consider treasurer's warrants. Most of them have been approved. Is there anything else that's outstanding, Gary?
Nope, you have the payroll warrants and you
Yeah,
have
we just
the,
did that.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think, Mano, you signed some, but you didn't have the red folder of the payroll.
No, I did sign
She
it.
did the right one.
Yep, and then I passed it over to Dell, yep.
We're good.
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's warrant.
Okay, motion,
I'll accept, or second.
second. Are there any discussions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Those against, motion carries. Article 4, to consider a catering permit application for Bar and Grill Restaurant LLC at 9 Greenpoint Road on September 5, 2021. Is there a motion to approve that?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Jason. Second by,
yeah.
oh, Doug?
Yep.
Okay, second by Doug. Okay, are there any discussions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Those against? Motion carries. Okay. Article 5, to consider the Maine Municipal Association voting ballot for the election of vice president and executive committee members. This is one ballot covers all, is that?
You have the VP term, there's only one candidate, and you have 3 positions for 3
Positions.
positions. 3 candidates for 3 positions, so it's just a rubber stamp.
Yeah, either we say yay or nay. Okay, is there a motion to approve the motion by Jason?
So moved, yeah.
Second by Doug,
Yeah.
to approve the, all the
The members.
members of the MMA Vice President and Executive Committee members. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Those against? Motion carries. We have to sign that, or you, Gary, sign it?
I have, hold on, let me look. Yeah, I'm gonna do signatures on that. So I have other documents for you to sign, I think at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
We'll
take care of that for sure. Okay, moving on to Article 6, to consider information provided by the ambulance director related to standby call-in rates for county area ambulance departments. Mr. Eric Sear,
Yep.
I read your report. Mr. Abad was provided a copy also.
Yep.
Can you explain your report?
So these are just, I was tasked by the board to go and contact other ambulance services within the area to see what they're paying for standby services for their crews. These are all the ones that have responded to me. You want me to go through them one by one here, or?
Yeah?
Yeah, sure, okay. So Ambulance Service Incorporated in Fort Kent, for standby, they pay a driver $1.50 an hour. For an EMT, they pay $2.25 an hour. For an AEMT, which is an advanced EMT, is $2.50. And for paramedics, it's $2.75 an hour for their on-call. Central Aroostook Ambulance, they have no standby crew. They just rely on mutual aid out of Presque Isle for backup. Van Buren Ambulance, I contacted there. They were in between ambulance directors at that time. They did not have one. I had a conversation with the town manager. They do not have a standby crew at the moment because of poor staffing. So they rely on Caribou Fire and us, Madawaska, for mutual aid. They did in the past, when they did have enough staff, they were at $2 an hour for standby, which was just up until like a couple of years ago when things just started going downhill for them as far as losing staff. They are looking to reestablish a standby crew. Nancy, the town manager there, had told me she would like to propose a $5 an hour rate. They're hoping that that'll attract the members that don't live in town. It's difficult for some of these staff members. They don't live in town, so you got to try to find a way to make them come sit in Van Buren for 12 hours, and actually make some money. So she'd like to propose $5 an hour, but that's still in limbo with the town of Van Buren. Caribou Fire, they have 2 callback positions at a rate of $72 for the entire 24-hour shift. So them, it's a mandatory standby that they do for the crew that's coming off of shift. And if for some reason they can't do standby that day, something has come up, they have to find their own replacement. That equates to about a little over $3 an hour. And on holidays, it's $96, a flat rate for that 24-hour period. Any person that works or that comes in beyond the 2 mandatory that take call for the entire 24 hours get $50 if anyone is beyond those first 2. So because they do have also more people on call, like third ambulance out is how they run that. Anytime an ambulance goes out and they get called in, they have a minimum. They have to keep a minimum of 4 providers in the house at all times. So they get people that get called in, and they use a callback system as well on a rotation if needed. They get minimum 2-hour call-ins, and almost all the time the crews are on overtime, so they do get paid overtime or time and a half for those call-ins as well. And another little incentive that they have, if the crew that comes in, they do more than a 50-mile trip, either they get paid a $150 bonus for their time. Presque Isle Fire, they don't have a standby crew. They run 2 full-time crews 24/7. And if they get busy, they do have a third ambulance. If they do get busy, they use a rotation basis. They tone out and they look on a call list, and it rotates. If you're up on the list next, then you'll get called in. They have a 3-hour minimum call in. Fort Fairfield Fire Department has a no standby.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
In Presque Isle?
Yeah.
But that's fire EMS, correct?
Yes.
That's not just EMS.
No, that's fire and EMS. So
Right.
They have a lot of staff.
Right.
So they're fortunate, just like Caribou Fire, same thing. Fort Fire, they have no standby crew whatsoever. They use a tone out system. They basically, if a call comes in, they tone out and they wait. Nobody responds after X amount of minutes, then they call the mutual aid department, which is usually Presque Isle Fire for them. That can cause quite a substantial delay in the response. Holden Fire Department, similar to Caribou, they're on call for 24 hours after their shift that they've worked, unless they find their own replacement as well. They are paid $3 an hour on call and $4 on some of the smaller holidays. The major holidays are paid $5 an hour in those days. And they too, they're paid their regular rate of pay, typically at a time and a half rate when they get called in. They don't have a minimum call-in as well. So this is everybody that has responded to me, responded back. I've emailed them all. I have the emails in my email as well still. I mean, if you want to see the emails, I can certainly provide that for anyone that would like to see them. I just didn't feel the need to have to print out all those emails.
No.
So,
No, it's a report, so.
yeah.
I have a question though. Have you ever done that in the past?
What's this? A report like this? A study like this?
A study like this?
Not necessarily, no. It's not something we've done for a while. We did, the last time I did a study for pay was for regular rates of pay, which we did adjust 3 years ago, but not for standby.
Okay.
We haven't done any adjustments to the standby since I've been doing standby in Madawaska, so. Yeah.
And then compared to this, you're in the ballpark?
We're in the ballpark, yes, yeah. I certainly would like to propose, go to the drawing board and set up a new proposal perhaps to help with improve our standby. Something that I would like to do and propose that to you guys sometime in the near future.
Okay.
No, but
I'm sorry.
looking at in addressing what you have said to us about the numbers of employees that you have that are capable of standby.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm questioning the idea that you've never made it mandatory for any of them to have any kind of a rotation here regardless of pay?
In the past, and you know, I don't know all the laws, I know in the past when we first started doing standby, we made it mandatory when Edmiston had said, we're done backing you guys up. So we had to establish our, and this was all post 9/11 stuff when the laws changed. They had said you need to do your own standby, or you know you're on your own, we're not gonna back you up anymore. When we did that, the director at the time, John Labrie, had established a mandatory standby till we could figure out what we're gonna do. Well, according to back then, the law said if you say it's mandatory, you gotta pay them minimum wage. And for all the full-timers, that was time and a half at minimum wage. So that equated to a lot of money. I'm not sure how these other services, I don't want to say getting away with it. I don't
Yeah,
think
because it
getting
doesn't
away with
appear that
anything.
way.
It's clearly legal somehow because they've been doing it for years. So this, I'm not sure where to turn to as far as getting the legalities as to what we can do for mandatory standby or not. You know, how much we'd have to pay, what can we do? You know, so that I'm not too familiar with that part.
You think increasing the rate would help you get more people?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think it would make it a little bit more attractive. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to guarantee there won't be any holes still, but yeah, I think it would help a little bit.
I think when I see that there's the holiday, it might be an issue. Might
Yes.
be extra pay. That might be a big
That might be
incentive for holidays.
Yes, absolutely, and that was one thing that I would certainly like to implement in a new policy would be better pay on the holidays.
So, you had indicated, Eric, that the biggest gap for you, the time period, is the daytime, right?
Yep.
Right, and so what I have to check with Heather to see what we've generated for a poll, but I asked the HR department to send out a questionnaire or just an informal poll to the staff, because they're here, to see if there was any interest if current employees be on call while they're at work, and to see if there was any interest. Some people are, they're not cut out for that. Some people would, maybe there'd be some interest, and I think if we could just find a few people in our organization who would be interested in being daytime on call, it would provide it would fill a big gap.
Yeah.
And it would give them a little bit more money, on top of their current wages. So I'm awaiting the results on that. The only thing that I think once we get that, we'd have to look to see what kind of stress that would put on a particular department. For instance,
If they were used.
I wouldn't want to have two people up front here go out at the same time. What kind of hardship would that place on a department? There might have to be some sort of
Right.
scheduling,
Yeah.
I guess, to make sure that wouldn't happen. So
The other question I have is, are there employers that will allow their employees to leave?
Some do. Depends on the severity of the call.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have anybody that's in that boat, really. Janet has been a lot. She's left on a few occasions, I think, from Trump and see where we had some real bad stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, really no one else that I can think of there right now.
I think that at least in the daytime, if we were able to get a couple or a few within the organization, that would more than pay for itself, because we wouldn't have to pay for mutual aid, because we don't have a reciprocal mutual aid agreement. ASI charges us when they come to town. And that's what, $750
Yep.
a call. So it would almost be self-funded there from that
Yeah.
aspect.
Right.
If
You
we
said
could find
there.
some interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned last time you were in that you were looking at a training class.
Yeah.
You have any
Yeah.
volunteers for that yet?
Chris and Jess, we still haven't posted the class. It's kind of in progress with the Region 5 EMS. They've just established a new director themselves, so we're kind of just letting things get rolling here with the region, but they are aware that we certainly want to put up a class probably after the holidays. We're looking at January. But no, we haven't advertised anything yet. We do have one staff member we just hired from the police department, Alex Levac, has decided to come on as a driver with the ambulance. He's certainly interested right now in taking an EMT class as well. So we're waiting, to see if we're going to be able to get enough students to put a class, because we need numbers as well. We can't just put up a class for a couple, 3 people. It has to be. They'd like to see at least a minimum of 8 people sign up for the class. So we're hoping we'll get that, but that's to be determined right now. Yeah.
Doug?
You have how many right now on standby? That you have a list that you can call on?
As far as licensed people, we have the 6 full-timers, and then we have, I think it's 4 or 5 part-timers that are licensed. And out of those 4 or 5 part-timers that are licensed, there's 1 that lives in town. The others live in Prescott, Caribou, and then even some of the full-timers, one of them is halfway between here and Fort Kent, the other one's in Fort Kent. So we're kind of spread out a little bit, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean.
So today, you're no further than ahead as far as where we were 3 or 4 months ago.
No.
That's not for lack of effort, because
Right.
I can tell you he's always looking, and
Right.
he
Would
never stops looking for new drivers. And
Right, yeah, in fact, we're in the process of hiring one right now, Andrew Barrett from Frenchville, who's a fireman over there, and is also halfway through his EMT class. He had started before COVID hit, and it kind of went on a hiatus, but he's looking to finish that up, and very excited and eager to be working with us on a part-time basis, and he's going to be, I think he's going to be very useful for us as well, so,
Would it make sense to have them work up a proposal for an on-call pay, what it might look like, and get back to us with that so we can address it sooner than later?
I certainly would like to see something like that as soon as possible.
Right.
Eric, this is your department, and right now, all eyes are on you. And I see this as a major issue. It's a problem that we can't just ride the tide with. It's something that I think this board wants to see some action. I think we want to see. I understand that we also have to face the idea of a cost. I mean, and we understand that too. But yet, I have a hard time, Eric, to understand that we have a new ambulance sitting over there, and a call comes in, and it takes us 30 minutes to have somebody else. Not somebody else, but I mean, it was our department that came through, but yet, it's hard for me to understand. It really is, Eric, and so I really would like to see some kind of plan from you that this board can take a look at. We'll address the cost. I mean, we understand. I think we're all in the same boat there when it comes to what we have to do, but yet, today, if your ambulance heads for Caribou or Presque Isle, and you're waiting on somebody, because you've got nobody on standby, so we're waiting for Van Buren, and they're questionable already, and Fort Kent, then we're back in the same scenario. And I would imagine there are many occasions that this would never be an issue. Even the calls that you get are not that drastic that you need to have somebody there right off.
Right.
But this is becoming more and more a senior town, and so it becomes a bigger and bigger issue. And so I hope that you have a chance to put something together that we can address as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah, no, I can put something together, and if you wanna get me on the next agenda, we're good to go.
Okay.
You know, I've already put some thought into it, and I've already put stuff on paper, in fact.
Okay.
I
Yep.
have that policy already drawn out
Yeah.
on what I'd like to propose. My question would be is if we do propose, and this is obviously probably gonna lead to a little bit more costs,
Mhm.
can we adopt that right away? Or we're gonna have to wait for town meeting next year?
We're gonna have to look at it.
Yeah, we'll have to address it.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, no,
Okay.
I'm already halfway there with you guys there on that one, so.
Okay.
Are you keeping tabs on how long the response time is?
Not necessarily, because it's all in the computer, all our response times are there, I can tabulate reports on average response times and that, and, I can have a report done real easy, it's not hard to do, so.
I'd like to see what the average is, and
Yeah.
is it getting worse or better, or
No, not really,
no?
because I mean, those calls, when that happens, they're few and far between, and it doesn't, you know, when you have a 3-minute response time from the safety complex to Highview Manor, you know,
Yeah, I know.
it's hard to really make that, you know, if you had a 30-minute response time in the middle of all that, in the middle of 20 of those,
Yeah, and I think you gotta just not look at them on a blanket.
Right.
Some of that could be a mile from the station, some of that could be
At the lake?
on Lake Shore Road.
The
Right.
last
Yeah.
time I ran that report a few years back, Madawaska, our average response time within the town was 5 minutes. And our average response time in Frenchville was 11, and our average response time in St. Agatha was 15. So, and that was a few years ago, and I don't expect that to be much changed than that right now. So, but I could certainly run another report.
How many times were you called out twice in the same time frame?
In the same time
Like
frame?
2 ambulances having to go?
Oh, the times that, as far as how many times that the backup ambulance will go out in a month, maybe is 6 to 12 times. You know, about 6 or 12 times. I mean, that's pretty broad range here, but it's half a dozen to a dozen times. It depends.
Yep.
No, I mean, just
Oh, yeah. No,
Jason can account
there's
for
no,
this.
there's
Just the
no,
other night at the fire,
there's
we
no
had
set
all three
line.
ambulances there.
Yep.
We raided all 3 rigs the other night. We transported 6 people from a fire scene. Not too long ago as well, we had like 6 calls in 2 hours time, and we had all 3 ambulances. Some nights it works great. Some evenings it works great. We had all 3 ambulances out on several occasions within the last year. And then there's just days. Yeah, we have those calls.
Well, that gives us a good indication of what really happens within a month's time there when you're talking about how many times that second call comes in.
Right.
Where the second ambulance has to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Something I'd like to see too is just your procedure on responding out of town and how that works. And I ask, and I hate to bring it up, but I heard a call the other day where the ambulance was called out for mutual aid in Van Buren. And the crew that went out knew there was no standby, but they went to Van Buren anyway.
Yeah.
And just after that, we got a call in town that took a significant amount of time to respond to.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's a tough position that we're put in sometimes when somebody's calling for an ambulance, and to turn around and say to refuse, it's really a hard decision for us to make when somebody's calling for help. We don't really have any policies or procedures in there, and if we were to do something like that, at that point, a procedure or a policy that says, hey, we have no backup today, we're not backing you guys up today, I would almost need the board to address that and maybe make a
Yeah.
policy.
I'm thinking more like what fire department does when they go to a call in Frenchville, is they call, like, for example, the fire we went to in Frenchville, the chief called Senegat, I believe it was, to come to the station and back us up.
Right.
It might be as simple as, I know we don't have anybody on call, but, you know, have a roast to call somebody who's
Yeah.
on the on-call list and say, hey, can you stand by at the station?
Right.
You know, ambulance is going out of town.
Right.
That's more what I'm looking for rather than
And
denying.
absolutely, we can,
denying
certainly I
access.
can develop a policy that would include that
Yeah.
that Aroostook would tone out for extra help if something like that happens, and
Yeah.
see if we can backfill the station, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe with Van Buren's new director, maybe you can work something out.
They're hoping they're gonna be able to redevelop that department and get better staffing, and you know, so hopefully they can get another backup crew going again, and they won't have to call as often.
And it's worth knowing too that staffing issues are not, this isn't EMS specific there, it's
Oh, yeah.
across the labor market
Oh,
too, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
yeah.
No, I think they've done a great job so far covering it. It's just to
Mm.
help them out the best we can.
Yep.
Okay. The board doesn't mind, I'd like to address Mr. Abad, because he was the one that brought this up before.
Sure.
Consensus on?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Abad?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. John, for inviting me last week to tonight's meeting. I took a few notes, and you mentioned a while ago, you just mentioned one, and how many full-time, there's 6. I've also got in here as far as benefits. Nothing is mentioned about benefits. If those people, ambulance workers, have benefits like sick days, vacation, retirement, it's costing somebody some money. Now, there's no mention about money over here except what is the average EMT? You said you had 6 full-times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you probably have 15 sick days.
It's not it's an earned time system.
Well,
that we use, yeah.
what is that giving me per year?
It depends on how many years they have service that they have. and
So
I forget.
at 0 to 2 years of service, you can get 14 days of earned benefit time.
Then that's a startup.
Right.
If you get 2 years of service and you're getting 14 days, that's a lot of bread now for 2 years service. Now vacation time did about the same way.
It's-
So bottom line is,
All inclusive.
you got 6 guys working full time.
Mhm.
What would you say is their average salary, including sick days, including vacation, including workers' comp, including liability insurance for the town, including the retirement?
You're not gonna be like.
What do you think?
I can't
answer that.
What is it costing you?
We can't answer that tonight.
Right.
That'd be a different issue there.
No.
We're talking
This
about
is part
calling.
of the expenses. You're talking, somebody's paying $1.50, somebody's paying $2 for standby.
Well, no,
somebody's
you're
paying
talking,
$3.
you're talking full-time employees here.
Yeah.
This is not the same as standby now.
No, I agree with that.
So where
But
were you
If you
going?
have 6 full-time employees, maybe you could get 7 or get 8 and eliminate some of this standby that you don't have, you can't count on. This is why I'm bringing this up now. I'm not bringing this up out of the blue. Now, these people are making $35,000, $40,000, they're in the 4 lanes.
If I may, Mr. Chair, typically speaking, a
ahead,
full-time
Gary.
person making $18 an hour with full health benefits, if their health insurance plan is paid 100% by the town, their family plan is paid 60% by the town. So if we had 2 employees, okay, with families on family plans with their health insurance, that's over $100,000 a year of expense, just that right there,
To the town.
to the town. Two full-time
Did you
employees.
guys know that?
Yeah.
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 We go over
That's
that
normal.
budget
You don't
time all
count
the
that
time.
as a benefit?
What-
But this
what
is
do you-
have to
what
be-
do
I'm
you-
not, I don't understand it yet.
No, I agree. But Mark, what you're telling me, I understand the standby. Listen, I went through it, so I know,
Yeah.
all right? But if somebody's making that type of money in Madawaska, including the insurance and the benefits, and you can't entice any more people to come to work, we have a problem.
Well,
Take
yeah.
that all over.
That's
That's-
everywhere.
that's
That's
a-
why
that
we're
is a
trying to
problem.
address it.
You should not be looking for standby, you should looking for full-time.
Well, even that, yeah,
Yeah.
even that's an issue.
You're not gonna change me to where I'm coming from. You're getting 6 full-time employees. 2 of them is costing you $100,000 just for benefits.
No, not just
No,
benefits,
no,
salaries
that's
and
salary and
benefits.
benefit.
Total.
That's total.
So, do you have any transport, like nursing home to a hospital or a doctor's visit or whatever? Do you have some of those?
So for doctor's visits, no, but we do.
Well, this week I went by the Acadia School, the ambulance was there.
Well, yeah, that's from the doctor's office to the emergency room. Sometimes people go to see their doctor and they have chest pain. The doctor says, "I don't want to deal with this." They call 911.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, you went to the emergency room at Acadia School?
No.
No, pick them up there.
The ambulance was there,
Okay, you need
Yeah,
to
you
not
picked them up
understanding,
there.
Mr. Hebert. We were picking the patient up there,
yeah?
and we brought them to the emergency room. Okay.
Then
That's
that's
what we
emergency.
did there.
Then you don't have any respite care where you take people from the nursing home to go see a doctor. You
No,
don't have
no,
any of
No,
them.
we don't do those.
Yours are all emergency.
All emergency room.
Right.
We don't bring nobody to respite or anything like that
That-
unless a doctor signs off that it is medically necessary for an ambulance to transport that patient, and that's not often.
First of all, I don't even see the rates of Madawaska on this.
Yeah, $2.
It's $2 an hour.
No, it's not what I'm asking you. It's not what I'm asking them. These sheets, you've got everybody with Madawaska listed on this.
That's because we already heard about those, that was a comparison to other towns.
Yeah, we wanted to know about other towns,
You
not,
didn't feel it would have been right to put the rates of Madawaska on there, because you
Well,
were
no,
out.
I'm the one that created this report, and I didn't feel that there was a need because it's $2
Okay,
an hour.
yeah,
we
I
knew.
apologize
You
for
know,
that. If you
asked me
want
for
more
I'm sorry, but I'm not buying the story. Now, you're putting me throwing me under the tracks because you're talking standby. I agree you're talking about standby. I don't have a problem about standby. What I have a problem is maybe instead of having standby, the money you're paying these people, you should get somebody full-time. And don't worry about the standby. I like what Holton does. If you're working a shift, you're on standby for the other shift. And if you don't want to be on standby, you find your own replacement. Isn't that true by Holton standards?
Yep.
So we-
But that's still standby.
But you have to stay.
No.
No, you do your shift and you have to stay the next shift as a standby.
You're on call.
You're on call at home.
You're home
Well,
on call.
what, read
Jason?
Holton on the back
So,
page.
You're,
Read the one on Holton.
you're asking why we don't hire somebody instead of paying these on-call person. If an on-call person was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it would be under $20,000 that we would have to pay this person. Compared to $100,000 for two people, it's a huge price difference. And to budget for that and to even find that person when all these other departments can't even find the full-time folks
Did you
themselves.
guys turn your page to
That's the
Holton,
difficulty.
the last one?
Yeah,
What does it say?
on call.
It
for-
says Holton Fire, on call for 24 hours after the shift, unless they can find their own replacement. That means they're pulling in a shift, they're on call for 24 hours.
Which means they get to
True.
go home.
They get to go home,
But
and
they're
if they
called,
don't stay home, they gotta find their own replacement.
They-
So you've got another day covered.
But they still have to be on call, so yes. But they get to go home. They don't stay at the station. They get to
You
go
follow
home.
me?
Yeah, it's $3 an hour.
$3 an hour.
Right.
$4 on certain holidays, and then major holidays, $5 an hour.
The thing that I think he's getting at is it's mandatory that they're,
Well,
on
Mr.
call.
Sear did go into more detail on that, saying he's got to look at the legality of that
Right,
first.
and
in
I
detail,
understand.
so-
I'm just trying to state his point.
Right, yeah.
And I would dare say that if we start imposing mandatory on-call, you're probably gonna see an exodus of on-call volunteers.
That's my biggest issue of mandatory because people that live in town, they're not gonna sell their house and move it back into Madawaska. So they're gonna be like, well, I'm gonna go work somewhere else because why?
And everybody else is
This will
hiring.
be my last
Now you're,
comment.
now you're
And
going to lose
everybody
full-time
else is
people.
hiring. Exactly.
This will be my last comment. Holton, on call for 24-hour shift unless they find their own replacement. They make a 24-hour shift and they have to find their own replacement. That covers one day and the second day because they have to stay on standby.
Mhm.
So what's wrong with this?
Nothing for them, it works great. But like Mr. Sear said, we have some
Well, he
full-time
told me
people.
he's got 6 full-times over
May I-
here.
may I
He just said
finish?
so.
We're not talking about the full-time, we're
Right.
talking about people that don't
You're-
work full-time for the ambulance department.
If you're saying that we should require all of our employees to be
That's
on
not what I
call for
said.
another 24 hours after their shift, then how do you justify somebody that lives in Presque Isle or Fort Kent that they can't go home, or if they do, they have to turn around and come right back for the next
And on
24
the other side of
hours?
the county, why would you need 3 ambulances if you can't service it? Now, a while ago, he came up with a story that all of a sudden, the 3 ambulances were gone, the other 3, where did he get his personnel?
Oh, we had people then. It was in the evening when everybody was
Evening,
working.
yeah. It's when people work during the day. You can't get
A lot
people.
of my part-timers, they're back home from work and they have the evening off and we can call them in. Like I
I'll
said,
tell you one thing,
at night there's always standby.
I was more satisfied with my first meeting, the second meeting, I was made a fool of, and this meeting, I'm probably close to being looked like a fool.
That was not the intent.
Because right
We
now,
just
we're
wanted to
talking
provide
standby,
information.
as if the regulars don't count. That's what we're doing, right? We're not talking regulars, we're talking standby. First of all, you need regulars in order to get standby. And the amount, I still don't hear how much these regular employees are making per year, including the benefits.
These
That's what
Very-
entices
people,
people.
100,000, it's 50,000 each.
No, you don't get 20,000 in insurance and only get $50,000 each. Now. Whoa. What are you mad?
Mr. Hebert, when you factor in the cost of the labor, the cost of the insurance, the retirement plans, and all the benefits, taxes and everything, we're coming up with a general number that 2 positions likely cost somewhere around $100,000 a year on average.
And you're putting insurance in that and
Yes.
that $50,000 per employee,
Yes.
you're off whack. And challenge me to what I'm saying. You are paying more than $50,000 a year, including workman's comp, retirement, medical insurance, and check me out, and you will have to sit here, that you were right. You're not doing it for $50,000. Never.
All right, so what are you getting at?
No, do your homework.
What's
Do
even
your
at
homework
that?
and come back with this gentleman and tell it, and Mr. Picard.
I don't understand your
If you
point.
believe Mr. Picard,
I don't understand why that is an issue for you at this point.
I would like to know.
I'm trying to find out
it's
why
an
you.
issue for everybody in the community.
I think we need to move on.
So,
Well,
in order,
so it's 100,000 or 110?
You can entice more people to come to work.
So you're saying that we're not paying them enough?
If you're paying $50,000, free insurance, 100% for the employee and 40 or 50% of the
60% for the
family,
family.
that's probably costing you at least $15,000 a year just on medical. Plus the retirement is 7 or 8% of your gross. Sick days are included, vacation are included, it costs you workman's comp. No. Get your figures straight. Well, I'm not the sharpest knife in the kitchen, but I know it's more than $50,000. And on that count, keep on doing the job.
Okay.
And you might have to apologize to me when you get somebody working in the office, tell us how much it's costing us per employee, per year, according to
What
Mr.
we were
Picard,
addressing was
$50,000.
on calls, if they get somebody here to operate the ambulance to make the call.
I told you if you'd pay more, if they know that it's available, it's more than $50,000. And Doug, you're my neighbor, you better straighten out and get the facts. I know you have to
I
get
am
the facts.
asking you again, and I'm still not sure why that matters to you at this point. Because even if we paid them 60,000, 70,000, it doesn't make a bit of difference.
But you might get more personnel.
You know, we're
That's- it
all
doesn't
fighting
work.
for employees
doesn't
everywhere.
That's just
We're
Then if you're
fighting-
making $12 an hour and all of a sudden you get $15 an hour, it doesn't work. Or you're getting $18 an hour. You're making 15, now they're giving you a $3 raise, it doesn't work. How do you figure that out?
I think you're also misunderstanding the fact that these are not just any ordinary person off the street. There's an education involved. There's a certification, a licensing involved. It's not like if they increase the wages to $70,000 a year just on straight pay, it doesn't mean that there's 10 more people available that are going to work out of Madawaska. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that anywhere else. But I don't think we're going to get anywhere else with this.
No,
Probably
I think
move
we're
on.
on.
I think Mr. Sears already taking the initiative of putting a class together to try to increase the amount of those people
Thank you
available.
for your time.
I wish I could make things work overnight, but.
and I want, and
unfortunately-
I think it's worth, if I may, Mr. Chair, for the record, again, thank the ambulance department for the work that they do
Absolutely.
and the
Yes.
effort that they spend
Thank you.
trying to recruit and retain employees. And we've gone through pay scales, we've adjusted, okay, the labor market is ever evolving. We try to remain competitive, but the labor market is that tough. And when we advertise for positions in this organization, and I know this is not a statement that any other employer would disagree with, we put out advertisements for positions, and we see very, very few applications, no matter what position that we put out for. And you gotta have qualified people to do this work. So, it's not just a money issue,
No.
it's a resource issue, labor resource issue, I think, that we're dealing with.
How long, Eric, have those full-time employees been with you?
Oh, I mean, it's multiple different years. Jessica's been, I think it's close to 10 years Jess has been on. Chris has been 6. Andrew's behind Chris probably by a few years, probably 4 or 5 years now. And Lisa right around the same. And Brandon just started last year full time. So.
Have you lost many?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, we've lost people as we've gone along here, but it wasn't necessarily because they weren't satisfied with benefits or this and that. It's just they moved on to other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that says a lot, that you're retaining your employees, which means that you are taking care of them, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, in that field, paramedic, then you're all a little bit more, you're a nurse, and then there's nursing jobs everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
So-
what happens. You
It's
lose them that way.
everywhere, Absolutely.
And so sometimes, we'd like to get young recruits
Yeah.
and like younger, under 26, but that's a challenge because under 26, they don't need to be on our insurance plan. And under our insurance plan, that would be fully paid for them. They can get a stipend for partial cost of that plan. So they would get for the employee plan $300 a month back because they're not getting the full benefit. Well, they can take that and put that in their pocket. A lot of the young recruits are not interested in main state retirement. They're not interested in a lot of the things that when you get older, you start really thinking about. And so we've, not necessarily the ambulance department, we've lost some really good employees, like in public works,
Yeah.
because these young people are really interested in having the most amount of money left on their check at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, and that's hard to compete with.
Yeah, you're
It's the
right.
same thing.
That's a hard thing to compete
Everywhere.
with,
Yeah.
It's the same thing everywhere.
right? So,
Mhm.
Eric, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Don't let things
Good job.
drag you down.
Thank you.
Does that,
Yep.
there's nothing to do with that.
And I appreciate your report.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to
Yep.
Article 7, which is just really a housekeeping update. Approval of the shoreline zoning amendments by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. So we got a letter saying that they had approved what we had approved at town meeting.
Yep.
And this is just to confirm that.
yep,
I really don't need a motion on this.
no.
Okay.
Okay. So now we know that what we have submitted has been accepted.
Right.
So move on. Article 8 is consider quotes received for new tanker truck for the Madawaska Fire Department. Chief
Jim?
Susie?
And Jim has got some updated information we're passing out.
Okay.
So before Jim starts, Richard had asked to see, asked Natalie and I to get some of the minute history, the conversations over the past year or so in respect to fire truck, desire to move forward with the fire truck and pricing and whatnot. So Natalie went through the videos and she expanded on the minutes to give you a bit more of a detail of what the conversations looked like since April of 2020. And that's what you have in front of you.
Yeah. Because I had asked Gary, where did this come from? He said, well, at the last finance committee meeting, they had said, get a proposal, future and everything else. I think it was Monday or Tuesday night. I saw Jim outside. I stopped in and I said, he said, we've been doing this for 5 years. I said, okay, I didn't know. So I'm fully aware now. Okay.
No, fire department's been looking for a truck for a few years to start upgrading our fleet that we have now. I mean, we do have a 1984 fire truck that sooner or later will stop working. That's up at the lake. Our newest truck, which is our Pierce, which is here in town, is a 2001, so that's already 20 years old. We're having hardwood parts. I mean, a 20-year-old vehicle. These things are made. You only have them for so long. So we're keeping them in good shape. We're doing the best we can with them, but sooner or later, it's going to be it. So I'm just looking to start upgrading slowly, and that's why I'm here tonight. Just hoping that we can start now and start getting something, start getting a vehicle in there and slowly upgrade to keep our fleet. Every 20 years or so, trying to get another truck, 10 or 15 years, whatever we can do.
How many trucks in your fleet? Pumper, tanker, ladder, whatever.
At the lake, I got one pumper, that 84. I got 3 tankers, 1, 2, 3. Each are 3,000 gallons. I got a 79, an 83, and I got the one from tanker 6 is a 1,000-gallon tanker, and that one is 1990. That one is from the military that we got a few years back. The town helped us, and they helped us. They put it all together for us. They put a tank on it and everything, and that's a really high truck. We use that. We kind of use that for brush fires, stuff like that. But it's 1990. Then I have in town, I got the ladder, which is a 2000. I have the Pierce, which is also a 2001. We got a forestry pickup, which is a 2012. We got a utility, which is a 2005. And we have a hazmat truck, which is, we're sitting in it, but sooner or later we're gonna fall out of there. I mean, it's a 1984, and that one is in really bad shape too, so.
That's your white one?
The white one, that one there is.
That was an old Pepsi truck?
Yeah, we fixed the floorboards on it the other day because our feet are falling through it, so. But, that's what we have. Then we have a hazmat, which is from the state, a red hazmat, so.
Is that owned by the town?
No, that's from the state.
That's what the state does.
Yeah.
owns it.
That's what we have
Okay.
for vehicles, so,
I can see your need because, 20 years is,
yeah.
and that's your newest one.
Yeah, that's our newest one.
Yeah.
So
Last year, the town meeting, Article 7, said put 25,000 aside. Was that the first year?
That was, yes.
First year
Start
of
putting
that.
money towards the, what would be the first payment. So we would conceivably do another lease finance, 5-year term. And, the first payment on that is usually due on the front, not on the rears. And so we had agreed that we would start putting money in for that first payment.
How many years ago we did the same thing? I think we did it for 10 years.
Yeah,
When we bought the ladder truck.
Yeah,
Then it was like 10 years.
Mhm.
But I think back then we were putting 50,000 in.
50, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, given the age of the fleet, conceivably, we're gonna have to get onto a pretty aggressive rotation with that number of vehicles in order to, because you're gonna hit a wall. Eventually, you might find yourself in a position having to replace multiple vehicles in 1 year, which would be very costly to do. So, my thoughts are the sooner we can move on starting to turn the fleet out, the better. It would provide more stability and, impact on the mill rate and taxes and stuff like that.
And then this lease there, I mean, there's no payment on this until it arrives, which will be in a year from now. Then we put in the first payment, so.
And I think, Jim has spec'd out a truck similar to what Senegat and Frenchville have done. It's not on the higher end of the trucks that you could purchase, but it's more of a scaled
It's a
down
scale
model.
down, yeah.
But for pumper tanker and storage place, it cuts it right. It does-
Yeah, oh yeah, I got pretty much everything we need on it. The only thing, when we do get it, I'm gonna have to purchase hoses and equipment and all that, top
Yeah.
date, of course, but this is just the truck itself, so.
We have as far as what we have financed with the fire department, the only thing we have left to pay is the SCBA machine,
Right.
filling tank, and I think we have 1 year left.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was the 2017 when we bought that.
What's the amount per year?
Holy boys.
8,000.
8,000, so that's a
8,000.
debt service that will fall off the rolls, at the same time as we would pick up some new debt service. It's not a lot, but it's something.
Yeah.
Okay. I was researching it, and one thing I found is that that foam, some states have banned that.
The Class B foam has been banned. That one
Okay.
there, Class B, yeah, Class B.
yeah.
Yeah, that one there has been banned because of it's cancer causing. We don't have any here, we all have Class A. So
But the
we
truck can take any foam we put into it.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
limited
Yeah.
to a certain.
Yeah, but that
certain
Class B there, that's, they used to use that, I think, more for like aircrafts and stuff like that. And we don't, the Class A could do just as good, it's just, we don't put Class B anymore, so.
Okay.
But the Class A, I mean, that works very good on cars and structure fires and stuff.
I think there was like 7 states that have a law that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We had a tub of that here, and it came from Loring years ago, because Loring used to give us so much of it so we could trade with it.
Okay.
But then when they realized what it was doing, they came and they picked it all up, so we don't have any
I guess it contaminates the groundwater because it's a forever chemical?
Yeah, yeah.
PFAS, PFOS.
Isn't that the same
Oh,
phone
yeah.
that the kids used
Before
to
it
run
falls.
through at the
The
Fraser
PFAS.
Field Day there, remember that years
Right.
ago? They used to fill the phone, the field with, I don't know if that's the same phone, but they used to fill the field with foam.
Glass speaking.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, I have a question on Autotronics. The international truck, the chassis, the model on that, and maybe they don't make those anymore, but there was an issue with internationals with the, was it the Max? Max Force, they don't make those anymore?
Nope.
Because I know for a while, a few years ago, there was fire departments trying to get rid of their Max Force fire trucks because they were really bad.
Was it the engine?
Yeah.
It was the engine, yeah. Those Detroit engines are having a lot of problems. That's why I spec'd it out with the Cummings.
Okay.
And everybody around, the truck drivers, everybody, it's all Cummings. It's a better,
Hmm.
more reliable.
Okay.
Oh,
And you mentioned the chassis, whether it would be a Freightliner or international, is the same price?
Yeah, it's pretty much all the same price. I was just looking at if I can get a international, at least we can go up to Fort Kent. If we need some service in
Yeah.
there. So,
So Jim, you gave us an email update for the additional charge for the water pump. It's
okay.
just under 13,000.
Yeah, what happened with that, of course, has been going on for a year, trying to bring the prices down to get both of them, just keep around the 400,000 mark is what I was looking for. So I don't know if it's miscommunication or what, but he's giving us a hail pump instead of a waterless pump. That's why you got that extra 12,000. The Pierce, it comes with a waterless pump. The hail pump, they're both good pumps. I did my research the last couple of days, and the hail pump, the difference between hail and waterless, the waterless comes from St. Paul, Minnesota, and they manufacture everything there, that pump. They do everything, parts and everything in-house. The hail pump comes out of Pennsylvania, and that one there, they put it together, but a lot of parts come from China. So with that being said, I have my ladder right now, which is down in Augusta. It's been there since May, and it's a hail pump. And we got parts for it, and then they're the wrong parts, they're crooked, we're having a really hard time with it. And I've talked to a couple pump guys, that's what they do, and they recommend the waterless, all the way through. The hail pump, it's the transfer case that turns that pump, it's a gear driven. And if you, on our ladder, I know when we turn it on, you can hear it whine. And they say it's a lot noisier than the waterless. The waterless is a chain drive transfer case. So that, it brings, it's less moving parts, and it's a lot better pump. I mean, everything we have here right now, all the other trucks, I should say, are waterless pumps. And, I got, like I said, the 84, that's, 40 years old.
Okay.
And it's almost one of the best pumpers there.
Yeah, and it's a better, it runs correct.
There's less maintenance on them?
Less maintenance, so.
So the hail is because it brings in a lower price on
I-
bids,
Right.
but it may not last as long.
Well, that's what these pump guys told me. He said, be careful because they might do that, is move pumps around and give you a cheaper pump or whatever to bring their price, I'm not saying it's not a bad pump, but it's just, if we're gonna do this, I wanna do it right, but I'd like to get the waterless there instead. So, I don't know what the prices are, if it's gonna bring it up that much more, but.
Well, here in the email, it says that it'd be $12,880 more for the pump. So
Right.
a big difference in price.
But you get what you pay for,
Oh, yeah, I know.
So that would bring the quote from Autotronics to $412,880. Is that correct?
That's what I see.
I don't know what the quotes are. It's all been mailed to. Yeah,
Oh, see, that's right. Autotronics sent it here in a
Right.
sealed box.
right.
Okay. Do you have a copy of this, Jim? You don't?
No, I don't. I'm just going by.
Here.
I mean, I've taken some time to look at all the quotes, and I definitely will be ready to make a motion to go with the auto truck.
I can read it back up.
So,
My thing is, should we go to town meeting, special town meeting for this, or?
it's not something we need to go to town
Well-
meeting for.
Under the lease finance, you don't have to, it's not considered a purchase, and so a lot of the towns, that's what they do now, they lease finance all their equipment.
And I'll make a motion to accept the quote from Autotronics and go ahead and purchase the vehicle through a lease program
With the upgraded,
with the upgraded water pump.
and second that.
So the- Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Like I said, my concern is, I think that we should go to a special town meeting for this, get the okay by the people. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we did get the $25,000 approved by the townspeople at the last town meeting to put aside. So I think.
Under the anticipation, yeah.
Right.
I'm not against the town buying a fire truck. I mean, I think it's needed. It's just
Yeah.
that how we do it, you know, I know it's a lease to own, but, you know, we're looking at snowplows, we're looking at all kinds of equipment there in 1 year, and I don't know, will that increase the mill rate?
Oh. If,
Well, first of all, it's not gonna hit this year's tax bill.
True.
It's gonna hit next one, because we wouldn't take delivery on it for a good 12 months, Jim?
At least 12 months.
Right.
At
So that puts us
least.
into the next Canadian year.
Yeah, he's given us an estimated 330 days build time on the sheet,
Yeah.
depending on the chassis availability, so.
When I was looking at the quote too, there's a certain date it has to be approved by, right?
Right, yeah. It's Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to downplay the need for a plow truck, but the last thing I want is to call 911 for a fire truck and it doesn't show up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Those against? It's 3-1. Right? I know you voted in favor?
Yeah, I vote
Yeah,
in
okay.
favor.
Okay.
We're all in favor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll vote. We're all in favor. So it's lease to own. This is a 5-year plan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can that be changed after it gets here?
Yeah. You could always go back and change the terms if you want.
Yeah?
I don't know that the lease finance plans go beyond, you can go to 7
I
years.
think you went 7 on
Well,
one of them.
one of them you can go to 7.
Yeah. I don't
3,
know what-
5, and 7 is what I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess is standard with municipalities.
There are other companies that we do business with, such as like Andrew Scoggin has a very competitive, Andrew Scoggin Bank has a very competitive lease-owned finance program, and I think they do go to 7 years. So there is some options.
But we have a year to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion carries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to Article 9, to consider legal advice from MMA Legal regarding Board of Selectmen rules and procedures regarding the recording of public meetings. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, since I was the one that sort of put it out there for consideration, I'll just kind of explain why I feel that it's something that warrants discussion. So, I attended a Board of Appeals meeting here a month ago, and the camera was recording the meeting, and it was not staff, it was being controlled in the background. And at the end of the meeting, I went to go shut off the camera, and I was confronted by an individual who had paid to put the camera there, had paid somebody to put the camera there. And it was very confrontational. The person was parked outside the doors, and when they saw me go to the camera to find a switch to shut it off, laid on the horn, looked back to see what was going on. It was arms in the air. The person ran in, got in my face, and demanded I get my hands off that camera. And I indicated to the person that the camera was there, placed there for the meeting, for the purpose of a meeting, and the meeting was done. And I had to repeat myself several times, and the person was up in my face, and so I was a little bit concerned about that incident. And we've had other incidents of cameras unmanned, still running after the meeting, capturing conversations after meetings, and I think that it's enough of a concern for me as your administrator. I work to facilitate meetings and line things up and give you information, would be at the planning board or the Board of Appeals. And I have a lot of concern about having well-run meetings and meetings that don't have hot mic moments that could put the town in some sort of legal limbo. And so there's where my concerns are. And I put it out there to MMA Legal to get their thoughts. We can't prohibit cameras according to MMA Legal, we can't, we all knew that. We can't prohibit cameras in public meetings. But we can certainly dictate as to how they're being run. And I think that I'm putting it out there for you guys to consider, or not, some sort of policy in respect to cameras being installed by people in meetings.
Well, we have a letter from Legal Services, because I had asked you to research what MMA had, if there's any guidance on that. And the letter in front of us clearly states that people have the right to make written, tape, or field records of all proceedings legally, and to live broadcast the same, providing in writing and taping and filming does not interfere with the orderly conduct of proceedings. So everybody's aware of that. That's it. My concern is that release from liability for equipment that's left here. For me, I'd like the information about our insurance policy, what happens with this equipment if we damage it or it gets damaged or it gets stolen. Are we held liable for this?
I can answer that. The answer is no. The companies who have the media equipment are fully insured and must insure their equipment, whether it's on-site or off-site. It's,
Can we make that a policy that they provide that to the town so that we can know that we can charge insurance? There's no
Right.
equipment here that's.
Right. So I actually looked into it and Gary's concerns, and here's my concern. When I got hired got voted in on the board, my biggest thing was transparency of the town, the meetings, and everything that goes on. My concern here is, yes, there have been some hot mic moments where the camera's recording live and things were said that went out live. But we have to understand here as a board that this is a public building, this is a public meeting room, and anything and everything that's said could be recorded. Anybody here in the crowd could have a hidden tape recorder on them, and it's 100% legal for them to be recording up to the minute that everybody walks out the door. When people are having the equipment here on site, the person who asks for the equipment is responsible for that equipment here. So the fact that they know that the recording is going on and that they are responsible for recording, whether there is somebody there just standing behind the camera watching it or not, the camera is always remotely controlled. It starts remotely, it stops remotely. Even if there's a person standing right behind it, they don't have the ability to start it early, and they don't have the ability to stop it early. It starts and stops automatically, and the camera will shut down, everything will cease to go. My biggest concern is we should not be addressing the fact that a camera caught a conversation that shouldn't happen. My concern is we need to address why these conversations are happening in the first place and make sure that meetings are legal, done correctly, and that these other meetings that happen after meetings, which we have all seen before, don't happen. And that's where these cameras are in place for, is to make sure that everybody is honest, does the meetings correctly, and hold themselves accountable for what they say in public rooms. I think that if the town of Madawaska decides that they want to limit who and when and how cameras can be used in a setting, they've got something to hide, and they're not for 100% full transparency. I do understand Gary's concern about these issues happening. My concern is nobody needs to touch the cameras, whether there's somebody here or not. The camera turns on and off by itself, and there's no need for anybody to touch the camera. Even if there was a camera person here, that may have still happened if Gary went to talk to the camera person and said, "Hey, are you done recording?" I have always been a big advocate about transparency, and I've always told everybody that if there's a camera in the room or there's a person other than yourself in the room, you're being recorded. Always imagine you're being recorded. Because in the state of Maine, it is legal for anybody to record a public meeting as long as one person knows that that meeting is being recorded. Yeah. So the fact that the camera is clearly visible is enough indication, and again, I actually looked into this as well, and I spoke to some lawyers as well, and if the board here decides that cameras need to be manned, the fact that the person who asked for the camera to be is in the room counts as the camera being manned because they're here in the room and the camera was rented by them. So I would urge the board, and I would actually like to make a motion that this board does not come up with any procedures or policies that limit the use of cameras in a public setting to remain transparent with all its meetings.
So I want to make a point of order.
There was a motion on the floor.
I would like to make a point of order.
There's no
that-
second to your motion.
Well-
I'll second it for discussion.
The
I'll
second-
second, so
There's a
there's.
second for discussion.
Right now, Jason, you're making a motion for something that you're generating income from. And I think that you should seriously consider about abstaining from this vote.
So
I'm
there,
sorry, but
so there is no income being made from today's meeting, nor most of the meetings that are,
were you not getting paid for the planning board of appeals meeting?
for that one meeting, that was the only one that.
And that person that came to me at the board of appeals meeting, you weren't witness to that when I was there, when that person was up in my face.
I understand, but that you shouldn't have been at the camera to begin with.
The meeting was adjourned, Jason.
Right, and the camera was turned off remotely automatically. And even if the meeting, and I understand, but what you guys need to understand is even if the meeting is adjourned, that doesn't mean that everybody in the room needs to turn off the recording device. That recording device can be running until the last person walks out of that room. That is 100% perfectly legal. Now, the camera can't be set up there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as a permanent install. That, I understand, that can't happen. But if a camera is there to record the meeting, as soon as the camera goes up, whether the meeting is started or not, you need to assume that that camera is recording. And until everybody is out the door, you need to assume that that camera is recording. And to the point where even if somebody was standing there recording it, they're going to stand there and wait till everybody's leaving before turning off the camera. The point is not the fact that the camera needs to turn off right at the end of the meeting, and that's why we need somebody here to do that, because that's not going to happen. That's not the whole point of this. Okay? And I am a concerned board member because I myself have seen meetings go on after meetings that are not legal, and that needs to stop, and that's what we need to address, not the fact that the cameras are catching these things. And that's why people are upset, because recording devices have been turned off at other meetings, prior meetings, so that it doesn't catch meetings that are going on afterwards. Just a part of it gets caught until somebody turns it off. So there are a lot of concerned citizens out there, who are concerned about what goes on before, during, and after our meetings. And if the board wants to vote to disallow that,
I don't think
what's the
there's-
transparency that's trying to be?
I don't think there's any discussion, just we wanted guidance on it, so we can establish some rules.
Yeah.
You know, and it says you can make reasonable rules and regulations governing these activities. You know, like for me, I think liability issue and everything else. You're saying that you're protected from that. You know, if there's a fire and everything else, the town shouldn't be paying for somebody else's equipment.
Right, the town would not be liable for it.
I don't know. I'm asking that question. You know, and everything else. I know in other towns, I think, was it Lisbon? They even record their own. They have a person in the town that records and they give it to everybody else that wants to have it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to go down that path also.
Right. No, and again, it's not just me. You know, Channel 16 has dropped off their cameras here and let it record before at previous meetings. You know, unfortunately, they're not doing that now, but there have been times where they don't have students or staff. They've brought their camera, they've set it up, and they've left it. So are we also going to deny the schools from coming in here and leaving an unmanned camera? You know.
There's some really fine lines here, and I'm not really ready to make any kind of a decision on this issue tonight. You know, it's just too difficult.
What is bothersome to me is that actually, and I can sense it right out in the open, that there's this misconception that there's some attempt to hide something that's going on behind the scenes, and that's not at all the case here. And I think it's very common that prior to any meeting such as this, I arrived here an hour before the meeting tonight to take a ride with Gary to get some information on some items that I was looking at that refer to downtown. You know, and I think sometimes, you know, there's discussions amongst one or two board members that occur that is not considered a meeting. You know, not everything is a meeting. Not everything needs to be recorded. And I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be transparent. I'm trying to hide anything. But there are times when you have discussions behind closed doors between one or two people, the same reason why you would go into an executive session somewhere. So there are times that you should be allowed to speak amongst another board member without having the ability to be recorded or put the town at a liability that somebody spoke about something that refers to whether it's a legal case or pending item on the agenda that we need to discuss in the open. You can't just get every bit of information you need at the exact moment that you have it, just like we're talking about right now. You're not ready to make that decision right now. There's more you need to understand. Not everything that we talk about in here needs to be out live broadcast. It just puts us out there as vulnerable. There's no attempt to hide any type of meeting. That's what's sad to me about this. And at the end of the day, I still firmly believe that if those many people out there that are that concerned, bring yourself to the meeting right here in person. Bring your concerns to us. If you have time to sit at home on Facebook or anywhere else and watch the meeting, you got time to come here and do it. And if you don't, I understand that. But this shouldn't be turned into something about we're going to hide something or not. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. I'm not ready to make any motion on anything either. But I think we need to be careful about how we're going to address this going forward.
And I understand that, but cameras don't start, and the board has all been made aware of this, every board who's been recorded. The camera doesn't start till 5 minutes before the meeting.
Correct.
Okay, and then it is turned off when the meeting ends. There may be a 5 or 6 minute period after the meeting ends before the camera gets turned off. Yeah. But it has been done before where the camera person in the room has seen a meeting continuing or discussions continuing and has left the camera on after the meeting is completed to catch that.
And that's why I was a strong advocate to get training.
Yeah.
Right.
Some people don't know these rules.
I think that is the problem.
Yeah.
There's a misunderstanding of what the rules are and what those represent to us as a board and what represents a meeting, what's considered a meeting.
Yeah.
After a meeting is adjourned, it's not a meeting no longer. If there's 3 board members in the room and we're discussing a certain topic, that becomes a meeting. It should be publicized and it should be made public. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. But 2 board members and an officer
means nothing.
It's not a meeting.
It's not.
And we get our strength from a board.
But at the same time, you can't say the camera needs to be turned off when the meeting is done. It's a public building, it's a public room. The camera could record from the moment the camera walks in to the moment the camera walks out. It has no connection whatsoever to the fact that it's a meeting.
And so,
it's a public building.
And to that point, what's to say that somebody can plop cameras in front of the town office here all day long, and anybody can come here and set up their tripods and leave them unmanned all day long for us to work around as a public space? I think the precedence for unmanned makes it way too easy.
Correct.
For people to plop up their cameras in public spaces.
But
I'm not opposed to the cameras. What I would want to see is that they're properly manned here, so that we can see that. And that's the problem, is we don't see it.
I can understand making a policy you can't have a camera in the middle of the town office or that, but the ease of use, especially with COVID and with the lack of employment, the lack of people out here, it's hard even for the school to find camera people. It's hard for anybody to find people to stand there. But there's a lot of people who rely on these videos. And to say that, hey, you can't film this if there's no camera person standing there, you're going to take away 90% of the meetings that are being filmed. And you're basically going to say, we can't, I don't see, and if you can prove to me there's a major issue that the fact that recording 5 minutes before a meeting and maybe 5 or 10 minutes after a meeting causes a major issue, then let's talk. But the fact that you're worried about a camera, manned or unmanned, because again, whether it's manned or not, it's turned on and off the same way. Okay? You're just asking to put a body there, and by saying you need to have a body, you're basically saying.
But we had a person who was attacked as a town official.
But that town official should not have been touching the camera. So why are you blaming it on the camera being
camera? I mean, should that person be barraged with all kinds of comments just because he was standing next to the camera?
I mean,
and that's what Gary's saying. Somebody's there, you'll know he's taking care of the camera, and it's going to come down. It's going to go out the door when everybody leaves.
What's the difference between that and knowing that the camera stops at the end of the meeting?
Yeah,
it's you're just basically saying, yeah, we know that these companies and these places don't have enough staff to man all their cameras, so we know we can get rid of the camera this way.
No.
I mean, it's.
I think it's a reasonable request to say have somebody here to make sure that the camera is being manned, so that once the meeting is closed, we close the lights, that equipment leaves. That's all. I mean, is that, what's the issue with someone taking that piece of equipment out that night? Or
And
that
logistics, that
evening?
they're not available because there's, a lot going on.
Yeah. So, okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion? If not, we can table it, get more information. I want to know about the liability with the insurance. I started researching it and I came up to Chris, maybe the liability here. And you're saying no? I mean, that's it. But, is there other concerns? No? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. No more discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Those against?
I'll abstain.
I'll abstain.
Okay. So, it was 1-2, is that what it is? We don't have, it falls dead because we don't have.
No, it's fine, it's just,
We don't have any action to take tonight. So, guys, everybody is upset, okay to move on?
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to, Article 10. To consider an MOT request for comment on an MOT driveway opening permit for Linda Sear at 276 Main Street. Hi, Linda, you want to make any comments on that?
Yeah, I have I purchased that building for my son. It was a business, and I turned it into a residential, which was approved by the board. And I have a wonderful tenant. He's the president of the new group, and he lives there now. And he had signed a contract for 2 years. However, pretty soon he won't be able to park on the side of the road. And I have a lawn there. And I also have a walkway, which is already done, where the pedestrians go. But beside that, there's ample space to take the curb down so he can park in his driveway or lawn for the winter or all year. And so I applied for a permit through DOT, and they said, sounds like it's not a problem, but now someone called me and told me that I had to come to the board to approve what DOT approved, or something like that. So I'm here to see if I have permission to make that little curb, take it off so it kind of goes into his driveway.
So if I may, MDOT sent the request to us for our comment, because it is our sidewalk. The opening of the US Route 1 is the state of Maine. Sidewalks belong to the town, and so MDOT sent an email over with this application and the permit that Ms. Sear had, the picture that Ms. Sear had supplied.
Yeah.
For the area. And their email was basically to say, how do you feel about this? You're gonna lose 2 stalls, at least 2 parking stalls on Main Street. And so, I talked to Kevin with Public Works, because that's in his wheelhouse, that's why he's here tonight. I think our concern is more loss of parking on Main Street, and visibility, backing in and out of that driveway, and whether or not Kevin had concerns about whether the car can actually fit fully
Into the
into the alcove without being sticking out on the sidewalk. But in any case, the driveway would require backing in or backing out of that driveway, because there's no opportunity to turn around. So no matter what, either you back into the driveway so you can pull out, or you front into the driveway and back out onto US Route 1 with 2 stalls removed. Only 2 stalls removed, visibility is quite limited. Sometimes you have to go an extra 2 to get that full visibility. So I think it would be a safety concern from the town's position. Kevin, you can chime in if you want.
I know that we did a few years ago, the chief of police and I had walked the Main Street. And if we would follow what the DOT specs are for the parking stalls, any driveway that comes in and out, you're supposed to have at least 1 or 2 stalls on each side.
I know.
So to open the view.
Correct.
Yeah.
So chances are, by doing that, Rick would probably lose all the parking in front of his building and on the other side to where that health center is. My concern is, the only concern I have is in the winter with snow removal, where are they gonna put all that snow? Because there's no way that a car can be in there and then also put the
your
snow
snow.
in the driveway. So that was my concern of where all the snow is gonna be put in the winter. And then also you gotta keep in mind that you are right on the edge of a crosswalk. And I have literature on that back at the office, and I would, I'm not saying that it's not illegal or legal, but I would like to do some investigating on that to make sure that that is, we're not opening ourselves up for a can of worms for a liability suit or something, if somebody would get hurt.
Okay,
So that would be my concern.
you've got Jeff's, he just fixed his place, he goes in and out. You've got this old lady that has an apartment building with the church underneath with a building right next to it where you can't see. She's been having her parking space forever.
Yeah.
I don't need 2 stalls, I need 1. And the lawn's pretty big, and there's no business there, it's a house now.
Yeah.
The business is the thousands of dollars he pays in taxes.
Yeah.
You know, that's the business. There was nothing there before. There was no business. Nothing was coming in. I tried something. Someone tried and looked at other stuff. There's no business, but this is a residential. It's gonna bring in revenue. The crosswalk is quite wide. We backed in there all spring and summer to fix that place into a home with a trailer. Plenty of space. No problem seeing. You have to look where you're going. We backed it in, we backed it out, over the hump, no problem. I came to the town, I asked you guys, it's not our sidewalk, it's DOT's. I went down to see the guy, oh sure Linda, it's not a problem, it happens often. We make a driveway if we have to. You should have no problem. Now, he gets a email like, well, it's the town's, he's saying it's the town's property. Whose property is it?
Sidewalks are the town's.
The sidewalk is the town. I've asked the town, please fix this sidewalk. We will. It's a safety danger. There's a lip of steel that protrudes. Hasn't been fixed. I asked last spring. It's a safety issue. Address that.
I understand.
This is not a safety issue. This is an opportunity for a man that has no parking on either side of the road because of the plowing. And we will plow his driveway. You will continue doing what you do. You make your bumps and your humps. We'll plow right through that for him. You're talking almost $2,000 a month.
I'm not trying to say yes or no, I'm just, they asked me concerns that I had.
Right.
And my concern is that the crosswalk is close to the thing. I'm just looking for safety. I'm not looking to shut you down.
No.
And second of all, I'm asking where the snow from the driveway will be going in the winter. Will that be put on the side of the road?
No, we'll take care of it.
So every storm, during and
Every
before?
storm, we do it for every tenant.
Okay, just,
One of my other concerns is when they're, with Rick's right there, I know currently, anytime freight is delivered there, they're pretty much right they're blocking one lane. So you just essentially have to go around that truck and have the opportunity to have a significant blind spot for that person backing out or coming out of that parking area as well when that's there. I think it's a pretty significant safety concern myself.
I looked at it also, and I think it's gonna take up 3 spaces.
I
One
think-
for the exact place in front of it and on each side. And this is not a secondary street, this is Main Street. there.
Right.
All the traffic
That's my
is.
concern.
Go look at Main Street, how
Yeah.
many driveways you have.
But some of them are grandfathered in there.
Right.
There was a driveway, people parked in the back. You know, this is a new one. You know, I remember when I was on the planning board, we looked at the VIP area and they wanted it a different place, and DOT said, no, you have
But
to have certain
DOT
visibility from each angle. come
DOT
out.
is asking your opinion, or DOT, it's not a safety concern for them.
Well, he says here it is
And
challenging.
he's saying it's gonna block Big Rick's. Ricky owns the corner, and he's, excuse me, young man. Ricky owns the corner. He has 2 spaces or 3. He's asked the town for a wheelchair handicap accessible sign. Has he received that? That's a safety. You got old people that can't even get into Ricky's. You know, you're not addressing what you need to address. This guy's the president doing that bridge. He's bringing in millions and millions of dollars for Madawaska. We can't appease him? Come on. Think about it. And then Ricky has that House of Pizza, old House of Pizza building. He doesn't use that. Because the architects or whatever haven't gotten in to decide what they're gonna do for Ricky or not. People park there, the truck parks there, it's an inconvenience to us when his big trucks are there. It's a safety concern, a big safety concern. What do? We hesitate, we stop, we wait, and then we proceed. And there's only one man, the president of the company, that's gonna back up at 5:30 in the morning where there's hardly any traffic. He's here 4 days a week, and he goes home and he comes back to start again.
Is there a parking area behind the building?
I don't know.
No, there's no parking
Kevin?
behind.
Yeah,
Have you looked into across the street, the 13th Avenue? That would be a
Yes.
great place. That
It
would be
would
out
be.
of the way. Nobody uses that.
We'll keep it on set.
Kevin, that place belongs to the Historical Society.
Have you contacted them?
Yes, and there's no way. Talk to that guy, he can't hear. No, it's not funny, you try to describe it, oh, it's Jim LaVerture, it's somebody else. I've given thousands of dollars of furniture and chandeliers to them, donate. You can't park there, no. And then Mitch has his own little, where the dry cleaners was, that's Mitch's. He might let Ricky put some snowmobiles there, I don't know. But I'm saying, I know, there's only one person, it's not a family. And I would do this. I would venture to say, I would say that the contract is for 2 years, maybe 4. And if I rent it to another person or family, you can change it. But for now, I want to accommodate probably the most important man to contribute to this town. We've been waiting for years and years, and the Lord blessed me with the president. Let's make this happen for him.
So, any more comments, Kevin? No, you're all set. I see it as a major safety concern. There's people walking in there, and 5:30 in the morning, I see people walking. I get out of work.
Be busy.
People getting out of work that time. They're walking. It's dark. You know.
I have a question. When you got your land use application, part of it is where the parking will be. That would have been part of the discussion with the land use application. So a parking would have been established at that time, and you wouldn't have been allowed to proceed if you're not able to show us the parking area.
I did. I showed them the law, and you can park on there, and you can park on the signs. I didn't know who was gonna rent. A family with kids on Main Street and all this and that.
So, it was a commercial building converted into a residence.
Right.
Was a change of use request application put before the planning board to change that use?
I went through the board. I have my warranty deed. It was granted, it's mine.
Right, but in order, I guess my question
And the
is.
guy came, the appraiser or whatever, assessor,
Well, it's not
and
just.
it's a house.
Right.
It's considered a residential, beautiful home.
He's assessing it as a house, but was the change of use request made to change the use of that property from commercial to residential?
I had both. You can have it at commercial, if you can sell it as a commercial, use it as a commercial. If you can't, use it as residential. I put thousands and thousands of dollars into that building to make it a home. Why can't it be that simple? I mean, you're talking going down Bridge Street where there was an accident, that's dangerous. We could go through the whole damn sidewalk on Main Street and talk about dangerous.
If that was done for that change of use, is that paperwork available where we can look at that and see
We'll have
what?
to go check to see if that had been done.
Because if that was done,
That would be
like you said, with
parking.
the parking would have been addressed in
Yes.
that, we wouldn't be at this issue. Because I think part of the problem is right now, you're looking at really a commercial area with a residential stuck in the middle of it with no place to park, and that's, seems to me that would have been addressed on
No,
the change of use.
it wasn't addressed. You just assumed you gotta park on the sides, you know, not a big deal. But it is a big deal.
I'd like to see the change of use permits before I make a decision.
Me too.
Another postponement, I mean, I would have to pay for the work being done, I was told that. And get the telephone number on the pole, do that, do this, do that. I did everything that I was told to do, and now I'm gonna postpone it again. Wow. Okay, whatever, I
So
think
what are the wishes of the board?
I mean, I don't think we can proceed without getting the information firsthand to see what that original permit looks like and see what the wording is on that.
So is there a motion to table this
I'll
next
make a
meeting?
motion to
Yep,
table it.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion to table.
I will say, I'm not sure if on-street parking is the purview of the planning board, off-street parking is the purview of the planning board. I think on-street parking decisions are a purview of the board of selectmen. Change of use from one classification to another is purview of the planning board.
Right.
So I'm not sure that parking would have been
Address.
Not addressed. in it.
necessarily addressed in that process.
No, but at least, I mean, we're concerned is,
Yeah.
was it actually changed over to residential? And was there any specification in there saying, yeah, they're gonna just continue to park on the sidewalk? Or just be good an idea to see that
the
documentation.
sidewalk wasn't an issue. It was changing it from commercial to residential, because nothing was working for commercial. Taxes are so high. The property's this big, and my house is 5 times as big, and I'm paying more for that little building down there than I am my own house. It's crazy. It's crazy, but we pay tens of thousands of dollars taxes. Why not?
On the tax card, do you know if it's still listed as a commercial?
I have to go check, see what the assessor.
That'd be a good idea to find out too. For
Yeah, find
So
out.
we have a motion right now.
Yeah,
been seconded.
I motion, table it, get informed.
We'll get,
Should have
we'll
been
get tabled,
informed
it's
before
gonna be
I paid.
tabled and,
My
so any more
goodness.
discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I'm upset, I don't want to.
Against?
I have a
Motion
question.
carries, we'll table it for the next meeting, pending more information.
Yes,
So if the board members, you have any questions or whatever, direct them to Gary so we can get more information,
okay.
so we can have it in the next packet for the next town meeting.
And could I be one of the first instead of the last? I've been here over an hour, almost 2 hours last, and that's fine, but no one's ready. This is what I mean, this is upsetting for not only me, but other people. You knew this was gonna be addressed, he had some safety concerns, you guys didn't look up what was what, you don't know what you're. I'm very disappointed, this is supposed to be a
Your
board
request
of.
is to be moved ahead next time, we'll try to do that.
I'd appreciate that, and that you guys
But
would get
there's no
informed.
guarantees.
And, well, it should be a guarantee, because this is what you choose to do.
Yeah.
But if you need information from me, don't ask me a week before. You've got, what, a planning board, another meeting in 2 weeks or something? Ask me ahead of time so I can get you the information you need, like the warranty deed or whatever. The president to make a comment to you, like he's only gonna be here 2 years, and then, maybe 4 years.
His
but
time
we'll
here is actually irrelevant. It's
What do you
absolutely
mean?
irrelevant whether
No,
he's
it
here for
isn't.
2 years or 10 years.
No,
If
you can grant it for 4 years or 2 years and then revisit it.
there's a cost to that, but
What's the
Thank you.
cost?
the sidewalk,
The cost is cutting out granites that are encased in cement
I'll put it back if I have to.
and then dropping the sidewalks down.
correct.
Yeah.
You're
You
losing
gotta do the
parking.
slope.
There's other businesses.
We can do that work, that's not the issue.
I understand, but you're talking about a very significant, costly project. where you're gonna have to unencase all those granite, cut the slopes down, and pitch those granite curbs, and make the slope in the sidewalk to accommodate that driveway. That's not a cheap project.
But I don't need two barrels or whatever you're calling it.
Stalls.
There,
Two
either,
stalls
it's
or
still,
whatever. I don't need two, I need one. And I'm telling you, that building next door doesn't have very much business. And Ricky's building doesn't look like it's gonna do much either because nobody's moving on that. And I don't find it a hazard. If I can do back out with a trailer, I think the average person can.
Okay, motion was to table. All those in favor? Those against? Okay, move on to Article 11. And the Article 11 has to do with the,
amended certification.
state evaluation audit. Need to do an amendment to that?
Yeah, so the tax commitment, every year, Maine Revenue Services audits our tax commitment. It's like an IRS.
Yes.
When you commit your taxes for the year. And so they picked up a couple of homestead exemptions that people were claiming homestead exemptions here and
Living
somewhere
out of
else.
state?
And there was also a data entry error in the Betty program that results in a clawback of about $14,000 in Betty reimbursement. So in order to, we have to recertify the tax commitment to reflect those changes. And you have that in front of you.
Excuse me, I just have one question for all of you, if I can do this. First of all, thank you for your time. Usually, when we have to do some kind of alteration, you ask the abutting landowners, is that correct?
It depends on what.
Okay. So if I speak to the abutting landowner next to me, and then one next to me, and the one across the street, and I ask them, is this gonna be an inconvenience for your business or what have you, would that help you guys make a decision?
Wouldn't hurt.
Would hurt.
Okay. May I be excused?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Do we need a motion on this one
yeah.
to accept?
This,
To
Yes.
accept the
Yep.
change, the
to approve the,
amended certificate of assessment.
I'll make the motion to accept the amendment.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Those against? Motion carried. Before we adjourn, tentative, September 7th, does that work for you guys? It's the day after Labor Day? If anybody has plans, or?
The day after Labor Day.
Works for me.
Be a tentative. I mean, it could change, but right now, I like to plan in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Seems like it's early though, or
Yeah,
is there, do we have really,
Well, we'll probably have to address the
That's a
issue.
little over 2 weeks out.
yeah, I've got something that day.
You have something that day?
evening, yeah. Come on, starts at 5.
The eighth?
Okay.
8th?
The
I
8th
can't,
is-
nights.
yeah,
what
the
about
8th.
the following week?
yeah.
The 14 on days?
15th?
I don't know that we would have all that much to
15th.
Yeah,
in-
those-
in-
those-
Just
Just
a
a
couple
couple
weeks.
working before that,
Those Tuesdays, I'm pretty,
13th?
the 13th
And days also.
would be fine with me.
So you want to do it at 6?
The 6th?
Do we have a lot of things popping up on that agenda right now?
Doesn't
Yeah.
seem like we have much.
I'd be fine with 6.
6th is Labor Day.
Yeah.
No, at
No,
6
no,
on the
at 6 on
13th.
the 13th.
On the 13th, on
At
Monday.
6 on the
Yeah.
13th.
6 o'clock, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, when you're saying that, you could do that on Tuesday also?
Yeah.
So I would prefer Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday evening, I've got something that starts at 5, and I'm not sure.
Oh,
how late
okay.
it's
Yeah,
On
you
on
said-
the 14th.
On the 14th,
Yeah, the 14th, yeah.
13th,
Okay.
I'd
That's
be
why we
fine.
moved to 13 and
I
then.
got it. Right.
13th, I'd be fine with.
Yep, okay.
I mean,
I'm okay with
I'm
the
good.
13th. At
13th?
6.
I'm good.
At 6 is fine?
Yep.
If it's gonna be, we don't have anything on the agenda except a few things that maybe is. So tentative will be 6 p.m. on the 13th. I just want to plan in advance so we know.
Well, of
Yeah.
course.
Yep.
Sure. No issue.
Okay,
That's the norm.
motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Made by Chris, seconded by.
Signatures.
All those in
Yeah.
favor? Motion officially. Thank you for your
Thanks, Kevin.
attendance.
Start.
Starts working on Thursday.
signed by a municipal official designated by, or signed by majority. Well, since you guys didn't designate anybody, you can
We'll
also.
just sign by the majority. Autumn?
Yeah, and sign, yeah.
See, Paul?
Hey, Paul.
This guy has that much like there next to me.
Yeah, should probably be at the next meeting.
Yeah, she's kind of probably upset right now. I think I'm gonna take a break on the next one.
On a vacation?
Yeah, just take a little break on this one. I'll let them have a discussion.
It was kind of a treat.
Eventually you'll understand why. And it hasn't been that long.
A whole bunch?
Don't put your pen down because
Okay,
this one is.
I'll keep the ink one.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Nice meeting you.
Disgusting.
It's blue, that's blue, that's blue ink.
You know what, I think I'm gonna have you guys, rather than me try to, no, stay right there, it's good, I can do this. Just keep them in order. And then I can stack them up,
Don,
over there.
I know that.
What is this one? Oh, yeah, okay.
Now, I'm doing this in duplicate, so